Welcome back to the Sophisticated Culture Podcast. This is episode 2. In episode 1, we discussed our relationship to Sapphic songs that were popular throughout our lifetime. We went from 1992 Sophie B. Hawkins all the way through Tegan and Sara in 2013. And this episode, we are picking up with Demi Lovato in 2015, and we are going all the way through Chappell Roan and Good Luck Babe. As I mentioned in the first episode, we recorded these quite a few months ago, so we have some addendums coming up as well because things have changed a little bit in terms of there being a couple more songs that have, a couple more Sapphic songs that have become hits and popular since we did this recording. So we'll have a couple addendums for you as well. Yay. Okay, now we're getting for me, yay. Now we're getting into some fun stuff. Not that the rest of it wasn't fun, but it really starts ramping up in the mid-2010s.
Okay.
At least from my experience. So 2015, we had Demi Lovato's Cool for the Summer. I am not going to lie. This is also a banger. I love this song. And the song itself is like, it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me in a little bit of a way because it is very much steeped in hiding and shame. I mean, at least the lyrics are on the face of it. Don't tell your mother, kiss one another, die for each other. We're cool for the summer. And I don't actually know if we're allowed to sing. We can sing little clips, right? But we can't just play it. I'm not sure.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, so the whole, obviously it starts with, the chorus starts with don't tell your mother, which, seems to be implying that this should be a hidden thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the chorus, actually. Maybe that's the pre-chorus. But, take me down into your paradise. Don't be scared because I'm your body type. It's just something that we want to try. It's you and I. We're cool for the summer. Now,
I'm your body type. That part definitely lends as Sapphic.
Yeah, and don't be scared because I'm your body type, I thought was a really funny line too at the time. I don't know if people say body type that much anymore, but they used to, and I thought that was a very funny line. But yeah, it's just like a huge pop hook, pop rock hook. And she also says, got a taste for the cherry, I just need to take a bite. Which,
oh boy.
I think you haven't listened to this song as much as I have you, Fox?
I've not. I think I've heard it in passing, but I definitely have not gone out of my way to listen to it. So I'll have to do that.
Yes, you do. I like big pop anthems, so if you like them, yeah. Sorry, let me revisit. Tell me what you want, what you like. It's okay. I'm a little curious too. Tell me if it's right, if it's wrong. I don't care. I can keep a secret. Could you? Got my mind on your body and your body on my mind. Got a taste for the cherry. Little shout out to gin and juice there. Yes, absolutely. Got a taste for the cherry. I just need to take a bite. Don't tell your mother, kiss one another, die for each other. We're cool for the summer. Now, obviously, the whole idea of dying for each other after one brief fling, very lesbian coded.
That is not necessarily the case. That is not necessarily the case. Remember, there are straight men who will move in with you after dating for 3 months.
Okay, true. You know what? You're right. That is very true.
There are plenty of commitment-phobic lesbians out there.
Yes,
I'm a bisexual woman, and I've had experience with both.
Okay. Fair enough. Take me down into your paradise. Don't be scared because I'm your body type. Just something that we want to try because you and I were cool for the summer. And then it's like, even if they judge, I'll do the time. I just want to have some fun with you. I think that's basically, the song is like, it sounds like it's about sexual exploration and like maybe the whole idea of like having a friend that you fool around with, which apparently is a lot of people's experience. It was not my experience. It wasn't really something that I did, but,
nor mine, but I can understand also, just sort of projecting onto it, just, if someone's uncomfortable about labels or the notion of being, like, does this mean that I'm queer? Does this mean that I'm gay? Telling a person who's uncertain with labels that, telling someone, it doesn't necessarily mean, that yes. So the notion of telling someone that that this doesn't mean you're queer, like like we can do this without it meaning anything. Like when you're into someone enough, you'll take anything, right? I mean, not you specifically. I mean, like one.
Yeah. Yes.
So even if it means that this person's just experimenting and they're just going to mess around with you and then never do anything queer again, telling them, oh, this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're queer. This is just between us, and this is just experimenting. Like convincing them to do stuff with you. That's how it lands for me.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and the video, I watched the video to try to see if it lent any additional depth of meaning or intent, but I would say it doesn't really. The video kind of just looks like it was made to make Demi Lovato look hot. Not that she's not hot. I just mean to showcase that.
Right.
And it's a lot of just like hanging out with sexy women and then occasionally some sexy guys, and they drive around and stuff. I don't know. I think at one point they're jumping in a bounce house. But so, I mean, yeah, interesting. So you didn't necessarily see it as like exploitative and like not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. Okay. I mean, I could see how it could be read that way, but it doesn't just jump out at me that way.
Yeah. Okay. And, I do like this song. It's very catchy. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. It was a hit. Then in 2017, we had Halsey's "Bad at Love."
Oh boy.
And so the first time, I really don't know very much about Halsey at all. I just want to put that out there. But the first time that I heard this song on the radio, I did have like a record scratch moment because
so did I.
Yeah. Okay. Because she says, got a girl with California eyes, and I really thought that she could be the one this time, but I never got a chance to make her mine because she fell in love with those thin white lines. And I was like, wait a minute. Hold up. Is she singing about a woman? I mean, that was my reaction.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show how my mind is programmed,
Yeah.
And so the song is about how it's about how she's bad at love and has not been able to make it work with various past lovers. And for a long time, I didn't give this song credit because I thought that she was presenting the women and the men in two different lights. As in, the second part of that second verse is, she says about the woman, we never told anyone, but we looked so cute. And I thought that she was, and even if that were the case, that she was never out about her female same-sex relationships, I'm not judging her for that, but I guess I am a little.
It's okay. You can let your opinion out. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Well, I was just kind of thought that she was like, oh, I had these guys and I'm going to talk about it on full blast. And the girls like, yeah, we were really cute, but we never told anyone. But actually, that's not quite it. I listened to it again and I realized that she's talking about two guys in the first verse, two women in the second verse. And one of them, apparently they never told anyone. But one of them, she says, I thought that she could be the one, which is a bold statement. Like, I'm not going to lie, that's a bold statement. So that was a big moment for me because that was the first time that I heard something on the radio, major pop airplay, where that person was singing about being in love with both men and women. And it was treating both relationships with like respect. Do you have thoughts on this one?
I kind of think the same thing you did. I mean, I didn't have the whole, she's not taking the women as seriously as the men. I just had the record scratch moment and thinking, wow, it's pretty impressive that we've gotten to a point where a mainstream song can be so openly bisexual.
Yeah. Good for you, Halsey.
Yeah. Yeah, and around the same time, I think it was, maybe it was a little later that I heard Lil Nas X, That's What I Really Want, and had a similar record scratch moment that, wow, he's openly singing about wanting a guy. I thought that was awesome too.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I remember that too. Now, I've got 2017's, I just added this one this morning because I was kind of on the fence about it, but I think I need to be fair to SZA. And so in 2017, she put out Love Galore with Travis Scott. Now, the song itself, like to me, it's barely sapphic, but she does explicitly say, love to my ladies, I've dated a few. And I mean, that's a sapphic line. I don't know what to make of it. I think that the reason I didn't think of it at first was because it's such a small verse, and the album as a whole, I personally interpreted as so hetero. The Control album, that might not be fair of me that I interpreted it that way, but I did. So I didn't think about the line that much, but it is in there. And the song hit 80 on the Billboard Hot 100. Granted, because like a lot of it, the song doesn't seem to be about about women, and because it features Travis Scott as well, it kind of gets swallowed up by the heterosexuality aspect, but I think it deserves a shout out.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. So, okay, now we've got a big one, everybody.
Okay.
2018, Janelle Monáe releases Pink.
Oh, yes. The infamous pants.
Yes. I know that this is anonymous, but I'm still not sure I can say what the pants are called.
You can say what come on. We're about to discuss Billie Eilish's song. We're going to have to talk about this in frank terms. So come on. What
yeah, but the term, they're called pussy pants.
Oh, that's the official term?
That's what they're calling them. Okay, edit that out. Because it's vulgar. It's vulgar. Yes.
The pants look like a vagina.
Yes, they do.
They look like a vagina.
Okay, but what I found about this song is that, according to Wiki, this song actually only charted on the R&B charts in the US, and it was at number 21. So I can't really assess the cultural impact, but because the video was really, I feel like it was a phenomenon. But then again, it could also just be my friend group.
Well, I remember hearing discussion about it on mainstream pop radio. I remember walking in somewhere, and there was pop radio on, and the hosts were discussing, and I remember one of the male hosts referred to the hoo-hoo pants, and one of the female hosts said, you could say vagina.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, and these were straight hosts on a mainstream pop radio station. So, yes, it
did get attention.
Impact. Yes, it did. It very much did.
So it had a cultural impact. This song, and I'm also going to say at the same time that a song that actually charted higher was The Way You Make Me Feel, Janelle Monáe's song. Obviously, that was also a Michael Jackson song, but I think this song might be called That's Just the Way You Make Me Feel. Geez, I'm not sure what the exact lyrics are, or title is, but that song was charted a little bit higher than Pink. It charted at 99 on the Hot 100. But that song, I went back and revisited it, and it actually, the lyrics are not explicitly, people call it a bisexual anthem, and I'm not trying to take that away from anyone, nor am I trying to speak.
Are you talking about Pink, or are you talking about That's the Way You Make Me Feel?
That's the Way You Make Me Feel.
Okay.
That one people called a bisexual anthem. But that was also largely because of the video, and which featured her kind of in like sort of dramatic sexual, I mean, not sexual, I don't know, like kind of popping up between people's legs and whatnot. And I think people of differing genders, and there was like the famous bisexual lighting, I think came from that video. Okay. Or at least kind of, that's the first time I heard of it. But I don't think the lyrics actually explicitly say that, It's still pretty circumspect. I mean, she says, I'm powerful with a little bit of tender and emotional sexual bender. But sexual bender doesn't necessarily, I mean, yes, sure, you could interpret it as being like flexible in who you are with and attracted to, but it could mean a lot of things. So back to Pink. This is how Wiki describes the video, which I found this description hilarious. It features actress Tessa Thompson, a frequent collaborator of Monáe's. The plot finds Monáe and Thompson, along with a group of other women, dancing in a desert, having a slumber party, and sitting out by a pool while expressing appreciation for the vagina.
How clinical.
Sure. I guess that's a description. Yeah. To me, it is actually, at the time anyway, and I was obsessed with this album. It actually, like, my passion for it has cooled somewhat, well, actually quite a lot over the years. I don't put the album on that much anymore, but maybe I should revisit it. But it's one of the most explicitly sapphic songs we've had, But then when I went back to listen to it, that's how I felt at the time. But when I went back to listen to it, I was like, you know what? The lyrics are actually still quite expansive. And it doesn't really surprise me because I do feel like Monet was probably trying to not exclude or alienate anyone, although those pants probably were kind of alienating to some people, a lot of people. But the lyrics, on the one hand, they're quite explicit. And on the other hand, they're really just hinting. So what I mean is, It says things like pink like the inside of your baby, pink behind all of the doors, crazy, pink like the tongue that goes down, maybe, pink like the paradise found. And then at some point it also says pink beyond forest and thighs. But I think that all of those lines, like I think it's the video that really pushed it over the top towards people thinking about how sapphic it is, because a lot of those statements could really apply to all humans. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know about that.
No? Okay.
I mean, only, not to get too clinical here, but only the interior of inner plumbing is, in fact, pink.
Okay.
In coloration.
I'm legit thinking this through. I'm like, wait, but I wouldn't know. No, I'm just joking. About the other plumbing. No, that's not to imply. Oh goodness, I shouldn't have opened that can of worms. Because the gold star discourse is kind of toxic, and that's not what I was trying to imply. I was just trying to make a joke. But I guess you're right. It's just that because there's also other lyrics that are like pink like the folds of your brain, pink like the holes in your heart. And then the outro is a spoken statement where she's like, we're all just pink. Deep down, we're all just pink, which has this sort of more of a oneness, pan-human, pansexual feel to it. I don't know.
Well, that I think is kind of trying to be on trend. Because the idea of pansexuality and gender fluidity is very in vogue.
Yeah. And I mean, in fact, she came out as pansexual. So,
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, the song, it's just interesting because I'm like, okay, on the one hand, I thought this was at the time, I thought this was like the most sapphic thing that we could get. But then I didn't know Billie Eilish and Chappell Roan were coming. So,
yeah,
let me see. Oh gosh. Yes. Dove Cameron, Boyfriend 2022 by Dove Cameron. Okay. I loved this song. I still do.
Me too.
Yeah. I think it's an excellent song. I like the production. I like her vocals, her phrasing. I really love the cleverness of the lyrics. We've talked about that a bit. It hints at being sexy. Like it says, up all night, I won't quit. And we know what that's a reference to. And if you're a sapphic woman, then I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but at least sapphic women know that it's also most likely a reference to the idea that women
know how to please other women better than men know how to please women?
Well, yes, that too. But I meant specifically like the longevity of sessions. I don't know. Yeah, like the up all night, I won't quit is kind of saying like, I won't just finish and fall asleep. You know?
Yes.
And she also says, do the things that he never did, which is sort of coded as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's really funny. I think the plus all my clothes would fit line is funny.
Yes.
It plays on an old joke or trope about how the best part of being gay is that you double your wardrobe.
Yep.
Yeah. That's not really true for me because my partner and I are not nearly the same size. But still. Right. The height. Who does what?
Disclaimer, I am obsessed with the 2022 series League of Their Own, and there will be an episode about that and about the streaming studios, the streaming companies being horrible to sapphic shows. But that's another topic for another episode.
Yeah, which will be great as well.
Yes.
But
so to the five. But anyway.
Yeah. So while I still really love this song, I think, but it's still a song that is about positioning a woman in contrast to a man, which is not bad in and of itself. It's just that I think, okay, do you mind if do you want to say, before I move on to Billie Eilish, do you have anything you want to say about Boyfriend?
Well, I just remember being very impressed with the fact that it was on mainstream radio.
Yeah.
That it was incredibly popular.
Yeah, true.
It was incredibly popular during that summer. It was ubiquitous during the summer of 2022. And the idea that we live in a world where a song like that could be a mainstream pop hit, that felt so good.
Yes, it did. And I think you and I connected on it too. Have you heard this? Yeah. What is happening? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it was great.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it did feel really good.
And the music, just going a little bit music geek here, the way the music itself, the instrumentation uses it hints at some traditional instrumentation that you'd hear in the burlesque. Of course, it's all pretty much synthesized, but it gives that sense of the old burlesque brass band kind of sound, and the type of the chord progression itself definitely sounds like it would not be out of place in an old burlesque hall. So the music was sexy.
Yes,
and that really added to the overall effect, because with all the older examples that we can point to, with the Jill Sobule, with the Sophie B. Hawkins, the music was not sexy. The music was boring. This was sexy music. In my opinion, the best songs are the ones where you could take the lyrics away and still have a general sense of the sentiment of the song, and that is true for Boyfriend. That is, that it is a sexy song, even if you just hear the instrumental.
That's true. Thank you for encapsulating that, because I agree, but I didn't know how to articulate it. Not having the right vocabulary to describe the music and the composition, but it is definitely sexy and big bandy. Big bandy. That was not the right word for it, but yeah, I can still hear the burr, burr, but I can be a better boyfriend than him. And I don't know what the burr, burr part is, but I can hear it. I can hear it in my head. And it cuts out. Yeah.
It evokes a burlesque sound.
Yeah, absolutely. So as much as I loved that song, and it was fantastic that it was a big hit, yes, and I still really like that song a lot. I think what's interesting to me is that I've been marinating on this for a couple weeks now. I heard the song Lunch, I don't know, probably 2 weeks ago. And I loved it. And I still do. And I think one of the reasons that I like it so much is that I think it is the first release on this topic by a huge pop star that is strictly about the desire to perform this act and delighting in the action. And it has nothing to do with men, boyfriends, stealing someone's boyfriend, stealing someone's girlfriend, nothing to do with hiding, shame, homophobia. It's just actually very narrow. And that kind of makes it novel. At least.
Yes.
Yeah. And that I do want to be clear that I don't mean to knock Boyfriend or Cool for the Summer or Jill Sobule or anybody who has written songs that also include men or posit the Sapphic-ness.
We've talked about those songs. It's just those songs had to happen in order for us to get to this point. Yeah, you can't get to the Tyrannosaurus Rex without the Allosaurus first. The evolution has to happen.
Yes.
All right. I suppose in this context, it wouldn't be Tyrannosaurus Rex. It would be Tyrannosaurus Regina, because that is the Latin for queen, but it also sounds appropriate for what we're talking about.
It does. It does.
Incidentally, that is how they pronounce the capital of Saskatchewan, Regina.
Yeah. Okay. Fun fact.
Fun fact. Oh, Saskatchewan.
You so crazy. Joni Mitchell and whatnot.
I was thinking more Jess McCready. Again, all roads lead to League of Their Own.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay. Well,
and the interesting story of what I figured out and what I am convinced of in terms of what the name McCready means. It means skilled in Gaelic. Think about that.
Oh my God. Oh, Fox.
In Gaelic. They had to have named that on purpose. And I am very much advocating for the use of the adjective McCready to catch on as meaning skilled in Gaelic.
Yeah.
We should make it this Pride Month and going forward. You know, if one Sapphic woman says to another that such and such is really McCready, we know what that means.
How do you feel about people pronouncing it McReady? Like what?
That's not how they say it on the show, and I don't think I don't think that's how they say it in Scotland or Ireland either.
Probably not, but it has a fun implication too.
I suppose.
Well,
I suppose.
As in McCready is McReady.
Yeah, I don't know how, or like an inexperienced woman. I don't know how McCready she is yet, but she's McReady to give it a try.
Beautiful.
Oh, Saskatchewan. I've never actually been to Saskatchewan. I should add that disclaimer.
Neither have I. Neither have I.
Been to the Dakotas. Been below Saskatchewan.
I don't think I've been. Oh wait, yes, I did.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes, I have. You're right.
You took a train.
You're right. That's right. So I did recently. Yeah.
Yeah. You got this content covered, girl.
I do. Yeah. I mean, there's actually a lot of the Midwest that I haven't seen yet, though.
Yeah, but you went through a train on some of you took a train through some of the emptiest parts of the country that most people never see. So.
Okay, back to Sapphic songs. So, yes. So when Billie Eilish released Lunch, I think my first reaction to it, so my partner played the album for me. I mean, we were in the car and she was like, you know, we can listen to Billie Eilish's new album. And I said, okay, yeah, let's listen to it. And now a lot of times I can't understand what she's saying because I'm old, I guess. And I have to, or at least I can't in the car. I'd have to like listen with headphones, you know, at least for like, so for the first song on the album, Skinny, I couldn't really understand what she was saying. Although it's a very, I like that song a lot when I could understand it. But then in the next song, now I actually could hear what she was saying on Lunch for the most part. And oh my goodness, this was a record scratch moment too. Yeah. The same thing, which a lot of people, because then it sent me to the internet to watch a bunch of reaction videos, and everybody had the same reaction, which was like, whoa, 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 OMG.
Yep.
Did she just say what I think she said?
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not sure why I was surprised. I guess, is it because of the like on the nose nature of the lyrics?
On the nose, indeed.
Oh my God. Yes. Hey, use what you got, you know?
Use what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't really familiar with Billie doing that. But you know, I'm going to also say that I'm not like a Billie Eilish completist. I've heard quite a few of her songs because she's had like a lot of hits. But I can't say like I know all the deep cuts and whatnot. So but like the song Bad Guy, you know, has sexual elements in it, but they're not as on the nose. They're kind of more hinting at it. So I don't know if it's because it was so on the nose. I don't know if it was because it was the same sex nature of it. Oh,
that's definitely what it was for me. It was both. It was,
yeah.
You know, like in contrast to the Dove Cameron song where you have the doing the stuff he never did. You know, you have it implied but not explicitly stated outright.
Right.
You know, with Billie Eilish, there is no equivocation. There is no uncertainty in what she's saying there. She is explicitly talking about performing cunnilingus on a woman.
Yes, she certainly is. And yeah, I'm still like, obviously I'm still having a hard time talking about this, even though I love it. I mean, I love the song.
It's okay to say you love it. It's okay to say you love the reality. That's the point. That's the point.
I know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But yes, you're right. It's just so difficult. Like, I feel like I'm turning red over here, but it's, yeah. Okay. I thought I had this, but I don't. I'm tripping over my words. Yeah, in some ways it's a very explicit song. But I think what I really like about the song and respond to about it is that it is sexual and flirtatious, and unequivocal. She's talking about what she's talking about, but it's also not braggadocious, really.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that too, because I was like, she's expressing wanting to perform this act because the act itself is exciting to her. She craves it. This is different from hetero songs that are like, they're singing about it, the guy's singing about it, but it seems to be in the context of like, and the man is going to get pleasure too because he's building to like, penetration.
Right.
And there's like, sometimes even in like same sex songs, like I'm going to say, I don't know, the first thing I think of is like Young M.A., for example. She talks about it, but there's kind of this like, I'm so good at it, look at me, I'm the shit quality. And also, which is fine. And I'm glad that like there's plenty of space for that and that exists too. But I think this song is kind of not saying that. It's basically just like, I want to do this thing and I want you to experience pleasure and it's going to be fun for me too. And yep, let's do this. Yeah.
And that she's really into the woman that she's talking about. I mean, it's saying that tastes like she might be the one.
Absolutely.
And the verses, in contrast to anything braggadocious, she's not just talking about the excitement of doing the act. She's talking about how amazing this woman is.
That's true.
How good looking she is, and how she just can't wait to be with her. I mean, it's very focused on the recipient, and
yes,
that is also a very refreshing thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, and we could. It's so hard to parse these things, but like you could say that it's just sexual, but you're right. I don't feel like it is actually just whatever that means for something to be just sexual. It is tied to this specific person. She doesn't say like I could eat a girl.
Right. She's effusively praising her.
And so in case anyone, what we should do is just go through the lyrics. Let's just do it.
Sure.
Okay. Now, also very cool thing about it, it starts with the chorus. And it starts like right away. There's like, I don't know, a bar and a half or something before she comes in with, I could eat that girl for lunch. She dances on my tongue.
Tastes like she might be the one. Yeah.
And I could never get enough. I could buy her so much stuff. It's I know.
That line's a little braggadocious.
Okay, you're right. But I think it's so funny. It's a craving, not a crush, huh? So, first of all, I'm just going to say also, she dances on my tongue. Wow. Tastes like she might, I could never get enough. It's a craving, not a crush. Seems to imply like this is not just a schoolgirl crush or it's not a phase. It's more than that. I could buy her so much stuff. I thought that was fucking hilarious when I heard it. And I still do, actually. I don't even know why. I'd really have to think about like breaking down what the humor is in it. I guess you're right. It is braggadocious. She has a ton of money and she's kind of like this little, I mean, nothing against short people, but she's like this tiny little woman, kind of playing the role of like this sugar daddy, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because she also doesn't come across as like that confident though. To me, she doesn't come across as that confident. It's kind of like, hey, I could buy her so much stuff, like putting it out there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess also, I mean, it's braggadocious, but in the context of the rest of the song, it can also be interpreted as she's so head over heels for this girl that she wants to give her the world.
Yeah. And I think she means that too. I think that's also what it means for her. Yeah. So then call me when you're there. Said, I bought you something rare and I left it under Claire. So now she's coming up the stairs. So I'm pulling up a chair and I'm putting up my hair. I mean, mic drop. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just chef's kiss. I think that I had to look up, I bought you something rare. I didn't know that's what she was saying. And I left it under Claire. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not a famous rich person, but most of what I've read online says that it probably alludes to putting something under a fake name because you're a celebrity. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes me think of the movie Notting Hill with Julia Roberts' character. She's supposed to be the big international film star, and always registering at a hotel under the name of a cartoon character.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I haven't seen that movie since it came out, so I don't remember. I don't remember it.
It's okay. It was definitely an attempt, a very contrived attempt to recreate the magic of Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is a far superior film.
All right. So I'm pulling up a chair and I'm putting up my hair. I think I also, with those lyrics, I don't know, they just bowled me over. I was just like, I can't believe that I'm hearing this right now. Because, we just didn't have anything like that. And also, even though it is kind of explicit, it's also not, that's what's so great about it. It's just talking about getting ready for this act, but it's not I don't know. It's not as explicit as Truffle Butter by Nicki Minaj. And, for example, in that song, Lil Wayne is he talks about having a foot on the toilet and a foot on the bathtub. It's a new dance move. I just don't know what to call it. So, she's not quite going that far, but, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not even really sure why she's pulling up a chair, but different strokes for different folks. I don't know.
Pulling up a chair for the other woman, the other woman's going to be seated.
Okay.
Yeah, and the narrator's going to be on her knees, and yeah, you get the idea.
Yes, but why not just use the bed? I don't know. Is it just because they needed it for the rhyme, or is it because that's just what they wanted to do? I don't know.
Probably a combination of needing it for the rhyme, and sometimes beds are too high if you're short.
Oh my God.
You're tall, so you don't have to think about this stuff. I'm short, and I'm telling you, sometimes beds are too high.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. And
the height.
Oh, that's amazing. So, but yeah, I mean, I like the wordplay here. It's obviously chair and hair rhyme, but also pulling up and putting up. I actually thought she was saying pulling up a chair and pulling up my hair, but either way, I like that word. Not wordplay isn't quite the right word. If I knew more about poetry, I would know what it's called when you use words that are similar like that, but I don't know. Baby, I think you were made for me. Somebody write down the recipe. Been trying hard not to overeat. You're just so sweet.
Whoa. Yeah. Another mic drop.
Yep. I'll run a shower for you like you want. Clothes on the counter for you. Try them on. If I'm allowed, I'll help you take them off.
Good. Implying consent.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Yes. Implying consent. Also, there's an internal, it's not quite a rhyme, but it's kind of like an internal rhyme on the clothes on the counter for you, try them on. If I'm allowed, I'll help you take them off. The ow noise in counter and ow noise in allowed. That's something I really appreciate this song too, is the tight songwriting in the sounds of it.
Okay.
I'll run a shower for you. That's just always a good idea. It's a very intimate act.
Always a good idea, and one that dudes forget. So that in and of itself is very Sapphic coded.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. So people should take showers, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. And then back to the chorus. I could eat that girl for lunch. Yeah, she dances on my tongue. Tastes like she might be the one. And I could never get enough. I could buy her so much stuff. It's a craving, not a crush. Then, oh, wow. Okay, right. I forgot about this. Then she says, oh, I just want to get her off. Which, again, when I heard that, I didn't have words. I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, sure, same, but I can't believe you're saying this on the radio.
I guess in a meta sense, Billie Eilish definitely achieved what she was after with that line, because whenever any Sapphic across this entire world first heard it, their response was, oh. Oh
my God. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't believe that she said that. Yeah, so, I mean, good for her for saying it, though, but I couldn't believe that she said it. And
somebody had to say it.
Yes. And the interesting thing is, I've heard this song on the radio, and when I heard it on the radio, they didn't bleep any of it, not one word.
Yeah.
Well, and I really thought they would.
None of it is curse words.
But even saying, I just...
curse words.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they only bleep curse words.
Sometimes they bleep violent words too.
Yeah, but none of this was violent.
That's true, but I feel like I've heard Doja Cat songs that were, I think, and it might not have even been in this state, so it could be different, but like, in different states, but she says like, sorry if you get a random erection at one point. And I think they bleeped random erection. And erection isn't a curse word either, but you know.
True. So
I don't know. It's interesting. We can have a whole nother conversation about censorship and what's censored, but they didn't bleep one word of this song, including that line, which also is really smart. I don't know. Maybe she partially wrote it that way, or maybe not. I don't know. But she's taking pictures in the mirror. Oh my God, her skin's so clear. Tell her, bring that over here. You need a seat.
Yeah, love that pause there before the here.
I know. Yeah. You need a seat, I'll volunteer. Now she's smiling ear to ear.
Yeah, wait a minute. That line there, that made my jaw drop. I was like, wait a minute.
Me too.
She just said that. She just said that.
Yes, I know. Me too. That line in particular, I was like, damn, girl. Good job. Good work.
Wow.
Yeah. Now she's smiling ear to ear. She's the headlights, I'm the deer. First of all, I think that's very cute, because she's basically just saying, I'm so infatuated with this woman that Billie Eilish, is a deer caught in the headlights. Mm-hmm. And then you need a seat, I'll volunteer could be interpreted in a couple of different ways. All of them sexual, but in the video, she makes a gesture towards her face. When she says that line, just in case anyone was confused. So she's basically saying, sit on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, I know. I agree. That line, probably you need a seat, I'll volunteer. I was like, whoa.
Okay. Hang on. We should pause for a second. There's an ice cream truck outside my house, and it's making that god awful jingle.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. And we're back. We left off, we were discussing the latest Billie Eilish song, Lunch.
Yes. Is there anything top of mind that you want to say? If not, it's okay. But
at the very end of the song, when there's the bit with the heavy breathing.
Yes.
We didn't address that.
No, we didn't. You're right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. I don't know. That's my descriptor. Although, like I said, I will say, and I told you this when I first listened to it, and I was like, I'm kind of obsessed with this song. And then I thought, okay, now I just feel like a lecherous old dyke, because I'm a lot older than she is. And but then I was like, oh no, what's happening here? Like, because it's a very sexy song. But
hang on.
Okay.
There's another dog walking by outside, and so
Sure. Yes, I'm sure mine will do the same thing. I could pause this, but instead I think we should edit it out because
we'll edit it out.
Because I'm still not sure about how to pause and restart. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think dogs getting in the way of recording a Sapphic podcast is basically quite apropos.
There is that, yes.
But yeah, I told you that, it's a very sexy song, and there is like the heavy breathing, which is edited into a rhythmic, element of the song, which is very cool. But like I said, it's also sexy. And so I was, talking to you, and I was like, I'm kind of obsessed with this song. Does that make me like a lecherous old dyke? Because I'm an old millennial and she's 22.
Well, the thing is, though, it doesn't make you lecherous unless you're actively thinking about her.
Yes, that's true. And that's a hard, that was a very, very helpful. Thank you for that. It's just weird. Like, it's weird when you get to, for me anyway, it's weird when you get to the age where you're like, okay, a lot of these pop singers and artists and stuff are much younger than I am, but I'm, really enjoying their music. And then I'm like, am I too old for this? But then I make myself feel better by being like, okay, well, there's a lot of people who are critics. There's a lot of people who are whatever. It's pop music. It's for everybody. That's what I've landed on. And also, as we've said,
music is for everybody. Period.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think, we, as like the whole point of this, as we've said a million times so far, we did not have stuff like this.
Exactly.
We didn't have nice things. We didn't have nice Sapphic things. So, the fact that she's doing that and, and as like fun and flirty and sexy as the song is, and that it's a major, major, major star who's doing it is incredible.
Yes, exactly.
And so far, like all the songs that we've talked about, it's definitely been an evolution because, but a lot of them had to do with shame, secrecy, hiding, etc., forbidden desire, internalized homophobia, externalized homophobia. I would say the Dove Cameron song is not, that song is not really necessarily dealing with those things, but it is still in the context of, positing I'm better than this guy, not just celebrating like Sapphic relationships on their own terms. And so to me, I think that this is the first big pop song that's out there in the atmosphere that really is just a celebratory thing about women relationships.
Yes. Yes, I would agree.
And not only that, I was also thinking, because we didn't talk about this before, but I would like to touch on it. Probably should have used a different word choice there.
Yeah,
but
I was about to say you're walking into another dirty joke.
Yes, I'm very good at this, at setting up dirty jokes unknowingly. But that's why we're friends, right? True. But I think in the 90s, at least I can only speak for myself, right? But this particular, let's just spell it out. This song, Lunch, is about a woman performing oral sex on another woman.
Yes.
And rather explicitly.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it is. I was like, could it be interpreted in any other way? And then I was
no, it could not. Not at all.
Okay. So
dancing on my tongue tastes like she might be the one. There is no other way possible for anyone to interpret that in any other way. That is about a woman performing oral sex on another woman. Just blatant.
Well, I guess you could say, what if that isn't the part of the body that's dancing on the tongue? It could be her arm. I don't know.
Her arm?
You never know. But then you've also got Need a Seat, I'll volunteer.
Yeah.
It would be quite a stretch to try to say it's about something else.
Yes.
So anyway, though, when So when I was telling you that, and I don't know if this was your experience, but I feel like when I was kind of a kid or in my formative years, adolescence, there was this idea out there that I got somehow from society that like performing oral sex on a woman was gross, and it might be something that maybe people do, but like nobody likes it and you just have to do it. I've been trying to find out whether this was, and this all kind of, obviously it's misogynistic and it's like hatred of women and female anatomy, which never made a lot of sense to me because I was like, okay, so you can, it's awesome to put your penis in it, but it's gross to put your mouth on it. Okay. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but because if something's gross, it's gross. Why do you want any part of your body on it? But
right, exactly.
At any rate, I was trying to look into this and it's really difficult, but I was just like Googling basically. Other people felt this way. Other people had this experience in the 90s that they got this idea. And I can't say for sure, but I did see quite a few people saying that they felt as though maybe there was sort of a regression and like a focus on it in the 90s as being something, gross. But, I don't know. I mean, there is at least one article out there that is about the discussion of the topic in hip hop, but I would be a little bit, and there's certainly, yes, there are plenty of cases of it being derided in hip hop music. But it's not, I don't want to only focus on hip hop and I don't want to only blame hip hop because I really doubt that that's it. And so listeners, if you have any input on this, feel free to chime in. But I think for me also, like, yes, I was at a conservative Christian school and we didn't talk much about this sort of thing. Well, we definitely didn't talk about this sort of thing in my family. But I think even when I found out about like what fellatio was, I don't even know. I don't remember how I found out what that was, but I really didn't know for quite a long time that there was also a version of that could be performed on on women. And thanks, abstinence-based education. Ugh. Oh man.
Yeah, see, I knew early on what all of it was because I listened to the soundtrack of the musical Hair. And there's a song on the soundtrack of Hair called Sodomy. And it mentions sodomy, fellatio, cunnilingus, and so
really
here I was, yes. And so here I was, this little kid listening to the soundtrack of Hair, and I asked my parents what those words meant. Now, luckily, I come from a medical family, which, my parents were just very matter-of-fact about it, There was no sugarcoating. I asked what the words meant, and they explained what the words meant, Like, just very matter-of-fact and describing it as a medical fact.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. But, of course, in that context, it was heterosexual. It was fellatio when a woman puts her mouth on a man's penis.
Yes.
Cunnilingus when a man puts his mouth on a woman's vagina.
Yeah.
So, definitely not explained in a context that was open to any other sexuality other than just straight.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, my parents did explain to me also what being gay and lesbian meant. They explained that to me pretty early on too. That there were, gay men and lesbian women, and that they just explained what that meant. I think because it was because my mom's hairdresser was a gay man, and so I remember. After I came along with her to a haircut once, afterwards she was explaining that to me, that he was a gay man, which meant that he was interested in men, not women. And she didn't get into it in any sort of, depth about what the process of gay sex was. She just explained it to me in those terms. And then as I got a little bit older, my parents explained gay male sex in the context of how AIDS was transmitted, because I was a little kid. This was the 80s. I was born in the 80s. You were born in the 80s. So we have no, or at least I don't have any living memory of what the AIDS epidemic was like, because I was not an adult, and so I wasn't. I was in preschool. What did I know about that? All I know is what the adults explained to me, because as it turned out, this the same gay male hairdresser that my mother went to ended up unfortunately dying of AIDS, and so I think it was in that context that that my parents explained to me what AIDS was and how it was transmitted, and so it was. I guess the concept of gay male sex was not so much judgment as, ooh, gross, this is this horrible sinful thing, but it's really sad it transmits this disease. And of course there was no discussion of lesbian sex. I remember at one point I even asked my parents, so wait, how do lesbians have sex? And my mother just saying, well, they don't really.
Oh my gosh.
They don't really. They can put their fingers in and pretend.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's sad.
Yes, it is very sad. I should also mention that fast forward to my teenage years, I just want to get this out there so everyone on the in the listening public knows about what the shame that I carried with me. And I know I've told you this before, Shaquira, but so that the listeners know, when I was 13 years old and I had developed a crush on a female classmate for the first time, I was all kinds of conflicted, because I had gotten crushes on male classmates several times prior to that. But I had gotten this crush on a female classmate, and so I was worrying myself sick. And I told my mother that I was worried that I might be something other than straight. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, and this is actually what she said, in order to, she was totally doing this to shame me. She said, "You mean you actually want to put your mouth on another woman's vagina?" She said it, with that tone of voice, with the most disgusted look on her face. I mean, that is not a sentence that anyone should say to anyone ever.
No.
But no. Not a parent to their kid.
Also, 13 is pretty young. That's like quite a leap from being,
Well, I mean, I was an early bloomer in that regard. I mean, I definitely, when I got crushes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not talking just like innocent, I got intense crushes that were definitely sexual in nature.
Okay.
Fairly.
Okay.
And some people, some people develop early, some develop late. I was definitely on the early end there.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah. But also I should add that my parents told me about the facts of life probably earlier than they should have, because I remember being 7 years old. My mom explained periods to me, and I was scared to death. So
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so the fact that my mother said that was just that put so much shame into me. So I was like, no, well, of course not, no, of course, that's gross, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I internalized that and carried that with me, and so it took me until I was 21 to finally accept the truth about myself, that I am a bisexual woman. I was also dealing with, my mother insisted that bisexuality was a myth, and that you could only be gay or straight, and because I'd been interested in boys, I was straight. And so I tried to convince myself of that, and that, of course, that led to all kinds of stress. And anyway, it took till I was 21 and discovering the music of Laura Nyro, and that, I'll get to that in the episode when we get more into Laura, but it took me till I was 21, which I know to a lot of people is still pretty early, because I know there are people who don't accept it about themselves till they're in their 30s or 40s or sometimes even later.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I was having those feelings at 13, and it took me almost a decade to be okay with it, that just shows you the kind of culture of shame that I was being steeped in. And my parents were not conservative people. They were not religious. And they're not politically conservative. They would sooner swallow glass than ever vote Republican. So I can only imagine how much worse it must have been for any kid growing up queer in a conservative family, because added to any shame, any element of shame, there was also the element of hellfire and brimstone and being disowned. But fast forward to where we are now as a culture, with Billie Eilish having this song explicitly about female-on-female cunnilingus, and just thinking that some kid out there, if there's some girl out there, some teenage girl who's wondering about her sexuality, thinks she might be something other than straight, and if she told her parents, I'm concerned I might not be straight, and if her parents had the same reaction that my parents did, trying to shame her about the desire of that particular act, she'd just be able to shrug her shoulders and say, "You mean like Billie Eilish?"
Yeah.
So the fact that this is where the culture is, I mean, that is amazing, and the young people today are so lucky in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should say, I think I have said, but I just want to say that even though I went to a conservative Christian school, my own family was not, my immediate family was not politically conservative, nor were they, nor were they homophobic by, standards at the time. No, but what I mean is, like, my parents actually are very accepting people. And I don't think that I never exactly came out per se. I just started dating a woman. But I didn't have a conversation with them about it. I think if I had a conversation, I think it would have gone better than yours. Probably a lot better than yours. But I don't, my mom, is a very cautious person. And I think there would have been a lot of, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" And that, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think she would have shamed me in that way. And she never did, never has, actually.
That's good.
Yeah. So, although if she listens to this podcast, we'll see.
Well,
what were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
Just the Billie Eilish song, and the impact on culture of the fact that that explicit descriptions of lesbian cunnilingus is something that has never happened in a pop song before, and it being described without shame, without the shadow of heterosexual relationships in the background. Just the fact that it is so open and so celebratory. That is just an amazing thing.
And consensual.
Yes.
And it's not, it's also not saying, it's not sort of a like power dynamic thing. Like I think back to Kaya's song. I don't know what that song was called. Lick It, maybe.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
It was a big hit. Right now, lick it good. Lick this just like you should. Oh, My Neck, My Back. Sorry, that's what it's called.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. I know that one.
Yes. Sorry, My Neck, My Back. But that's also good for her. But I think but even that song, and a lot of the songs that are out right now today too, are like instructing the man, "You're going to do this to me." And I'm not making a judgment call on that and that power dynamic and that like reversal of power dynamics that's happening right now in some music, but that's not really what the Billie Eilish song is about. It's
it's taking as much pleasure in giving as it is in the hope that the recipient will experience in receiving.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Billie Eilish.
Yes. Thank you, Billie Eilish.
We have to transition to
Chappell Roan.
To Chappell Roan. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was noticing just yesterday, I was walking around a street fair.
Yeah.
And one of the booths at the street fair that was just selling, it wasn't a queer focused street fair, and it wasn't a queer focused booth, and they were blasting Chappell Roan.
Nice.
They were blasting the song "Good Luck, Babe."
Was it "Good Luck, Babe"? Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, I don't know enough about the music industry or anything to understand why that's the song that has taken off as much as it has.
It's catchy.
Yeah.
It's catchy. I think it's as simple as that. It's catchy.
Yeah. It is catchy, but like, so is the song "Casual" of hers, which wasn't as big of a hit. I don't know if you've listened to the whole album yet, but
no, I haven't.
Okay, or if you intend to, but
no, I will. For research purposes. For
research purposes, I could talk about this for hours, but and just for enjoyment purposes. But yeah, you're right. It is catchy, and that was the first song that I was hearing about her on podcasts and stuff, basically. And people, I was listening to the Keep It podcast, and I don't remember which other ones, but people kept talking about her, and and it was mostly gay guys who had been talking about her. So I think, to be honest with you, not every time that the gay guys have a bop am I like, wow, this is incredible, I love it so much. And that's not because there's anything wrong with those songs. It was just like, last year the big gay summer thing, from what I've heard, was Put On by Kylie Minogue. And I mean, it's a good song, but it's not like life-changing for me or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I kept hearing people talk about her, and I was like, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I told you this, but when I heard that she was queer and maybe even leaning closer to the lesbian end of the spectrum.
Let's go back. When you're saying she, you just had vague pronoun reference. You're referring to Chappell Roan.
Yeah, sorry. When I heard that Chappell
Kylie Minogue is straight. Kylie Minogue is straight. We don't want to get anyone having the wrong idea about that. So
right. Sorry, my bad. Yes. So when I heard that Chappell Roan was queer and had songs about women and whatnot, I was like, okay, well, let me give this a listen then, because that's what I do. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I got to focus on, we can talk more about the album, I guess, at another time. But because right now we're mostly talking about the single that has been a big hit. Yeah, which is Good Luck, Babe. Mm-hmm. And so, it was funny. I think the first, yes, it is very catchy. The chorus, a lot of people have compared the vocals to Kate Bush, I guess because they're high and sort of...
Yeah, I don't hear that connection at all. I mean, that's one of those things that people who are not musically adept immediately jump to. That it's a high voice just like Kate Bush. I mean, it's. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's okay. I am not trained in the visual arts, so I saw a neon sculpture at one point and commented to a friend of mine that a friend of mine who is trained in visual art, that it's kind of similar to Flavin, to the artist Dan Flavin, who was a very well-known sculptor of neon. And so my friend said, well, it's neon, but that's the only thing it has in common with Flavin. And then she explained to me how, the fact that the technique was completely different, she explained to me why, other than just the very surface concept of it being neon, it really was nothing at all like Flavin. And so I took that to heart. I was thinking, well, I shouldn't just randomly speak up about things that I'm not an expert about, because what immediately hits me is not going to be an informed take.
Yeah.
So the people out there who just hear any soprano singing and say, it's like Kate Bush, they're not coming from a place of expertise. That's one thing, just side note here, that is one reason I absolutely despise the trend of YouTube videos of people reacting to songs. The fact that that's become a thing just makes my blood boil, because you have complete uninformed idiots broadcasting their uninformed opinions, uninformed reactions, and making that kind of, oh, this is how you react to art. No.
Yeah.
No. You need to be taught. You need to understand how music works.
Well, you don't think that there can be any value in just not necessarily, if the person's not critiquing it, but just, because I watched a lot of reaction videos to the Billie Eilish song Lunch when it came out. And I enjoyed them, but I think it's because there's sort of this, communal experience basically of that we were all like, oh my God, did she just say what I think she said? And that's how most of the reactions to that song were, but maybe that's not the best example because
I guess what I'm thinking of is more the reactions to older music, to see people reacting to, an old Stevie Wonder song. And
okay.
It's like you're not understanding the chord progression. You're just having a very surface level reaction, and that's not something that necessarily needs to be shared with the public. You can have your own reaction to it at first, but what the reaction should spark is not broadcasting that uninformed reaction to the public. It should be sparking your own curiosity to seek out what the experts have to say about it, and so you can learn and be an expert yourself about it, and be articulate in describing how that music works.
Okay, fair enough. I haven't watched any of those, but I see what you're saying. I've only watched a few reaction videos, ones that are like contemporary to sort of, be a part of the zeitgeist.
Okay. Yeah, see, I haven't really done that. I've gone back and I've seen, people reacting to Todd Rundgren, people reacting to Stevie Wonder or Steely Dan.
Yeah.
The greats, my musical Mount Rushmore. And just having these people stating the obvious, and just not understanding the music. And, it's just like, I just stand there and say, I need to teach all of you.
Hop in the comment section. Well, okay, so no, Kate Bush, I don't really know. I didn't necessarily think that either, but it does have sort of that song has sort of an ethereal quality to the vocals on the chorus. She doesn't always sing like that in all of the other songs. And in fact, when she sings lower, I was kind of surprised that I don't know how to explain what her vocal tone does, but I'll ask you about it later. We can talk about her later, but there's some songs that she sings lower on that are sort of ballads, and it takes on a whole different personality. But this particular song, it is on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. I don't know where it is now. The last time I checked, it was like 31 or something, but it might have gone up. And you're certainly hearing it in other places, like you said, the street fair and whatnot. And this song, lyrically speaking, I would say that man, this is a tough one, because if you're only looking at it on face value, I think it's pretty explicitly Sapphic, but it's hard for me to detach that from the entire. Either the song has to be that she is. Let's just say the song, if you haven't heard it, because I don't know why you haven't heard it, but if you haven't heard it for some reason, the narrator is basically talking presumably to another woman that she's dated. That's how it's set up. I think that the song could be interpreted in some ways as also talking to another version of yourself, but the most sort of on its face interpretation is the narrator, who is a woman, is singing to another woman and just saying that you're denying our relationship, and you can do all the straight things that you want, and you can kiss all of the boys in bars and say that what we had between us was nothing, but that that's a lie, it's not true. And then the chorus is kind of a kiss off. It's good luck, babe. Yeah. So the lyrics are, it's fine, it's cool, You can say that we are nothing, but you know the truth. Guess I'm the fool, with her arms out like an angel through the car sunroof. I don't want to call it off, but you don't want to call it love. You just want to be the one that I call baby. And then the chorus is, you can kiss 100 boys in bars, shoot another shot, try to fight the feeling. You can say it's just not where you are. Make a dumb excuse, another stupid reason. Well, good luck, babe. I think it's important to go through the second verse too, because that's where, because then that it's not just a crush or whatever. It's actually like a sexual relationship. She says, I'm cliche. Who cares? It's a sexually explicit kind of love affair. And I cry. It's not fair. I just need a little lovin'. I just need a little air. And then think I'm going to call it off, even if you call it love. I just want to love someone who calls me baby. And then back into the chorus. And then the bridge, which is dramatic and epic. And when you wake up next to him in the middle of the night, with your head in your hands, you're nothing more than his wife. When you think about me all of those years ago, you're standing face to face with, I told you so. I hate to say it, but I told you so.
Yeah.
And the beautiful part about that is that it's like this wail. It's not just sad girl music. She's like screaming that part.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I really like it. And I've gotten really into, at first, I don't know that much about drag culture, to be honest with you. I mean, okay, I probably know more than like my parents, but but not a ton. And so, at first I was not sure what to make of that, but I actually think that and this is kind of an ignorant thing to say because some people really know a lot about this stuff. So please bear with me. I just, I've kind of gotten into the fact that she performs these things in drag because, for one thing, it's the persona. There is that separation between like the person and the artist herself and this personality that she's created, where it almost makes it like a little less hurtful in some ways. For me, anyway, the hurtful parts, like the hurtful part of that song, many of us can still like identify with the heartbreak involved or whatever.
She's in drag. Do you mean she's dressed as a man?
No, she's dressed as like an over exaggerated woman, like basically the way that female impersonators, as they used to say, did.
But if a woman is dressed as an over exaggerated woman, is it drag or is it just kind of caricature?
I don't know, but everyone calls it drag, so I'm just going with it for the sake of what it's being called. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. But at any rate, the caricature is like a little bit helpful because of the like screaming, I told you so and whatnot. It's like almost, for me, it's like almost if it weren't a caricature, it would be a little too painful. You know what I mean? Like a little too on the nose. But instead it's like, okay, yep, that was hurtful. And, and you can be in touch with that heartache, but it's overly dramatic and it's campy, and that's part of her whole thing. And so now let's get back to the fun. I don't know. It helps me like compartmentalize it a little bit, but I think you'd have to listen to like all of the music to sort of get that in its context. Yeah.
I should mention one thing also, because I don't understand how you say that there's an argument that could be made for the narrator talking to herself. I don't see that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I see how she could be, how it's possible she could be talking to herself in this, because, well, for one thing, the music itself follows the 1-6-2-5 standard, what's commonly referred to as the 50s chord progression, which was actually invented in the 30s. The example of this chord progression being used as kind of the romantic ballad, about romantic love, is Blue Moon, Richard Rodgers' Blue Moon. Mm-hmm. So it follows the Blue Moon progression, essentially, the 50s progression, which is commonly associated with love songs, with romance.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess what I meant was I do think that this sort of comes down to like authorial intent and what's more important, what the author intended or the person's interpretation. I think the song I should clarify that I think the song is meant to be about two women, but I just mean in terms of like the inspiration, I think. because people are always asking her, like, who is this about? Who did you write this about? And some Chappell Roan fan can correct me if she actually has said this is about a specific person and this specific thing happened. But it could just be that, you know, she was in a bar or whatever and thinking that there's like an inspiration that that she kind of, you know, in thinking about herself could have been the inspiration. And then she could have like drawn out the story and the narrative into sort of an externalized thing. I think that's what I meant.
Okay. Well, I'm a big proponent of the concept of death of the author, which, for any listeners out there who aren't familiar with the concept, death of the author does not have anything to do with actual death of an actual author. It has nothing to do with wishing death on anybody. The concept simply means that once an author or a composer, lyricist, creator, whatever, puts their art out into the public, their own personal experience isn't really part of the equation anymore. What matters is how it hits the public. What matters is your experience as a reader or a listener. And that getting into the specifics of the author's life experience about, you know, who is this about? Who's the real person behind blah, 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 is irrelevant. I'm going to say that I'm a semi-proponent of death of the author in that I do think it's important when looking at these Sapphic songs to know whether the person creating the song is in fact Sapphic. Because that, I think, affects the intent behind the song. But in terms of knowing the specifics of, well, who was this about? Who was the specific woman who inspired this? And what were the specifics of the actual situation? I think that is irrelevant because that really doesn't have anything to do with how it hits us. You know, whether or not the author is Sapphic does affect how it hits us because it's a matter of, is this exploitative or is this from inside the community?
Yeah,
you know, that dramatically changes the intention.
Yeah,
but you know, it's kind of like the issue of shows, you know, television shows trying to promote diversity, but the writers' rooms are completely white. So, you know, when they try and write a character who's black or Asian or anything other than standard white character, you know, can they really do it, or is it exploitative or just uninformed and clunky? So, you know, I believe in. So I believe that to a certain extent it matters what the author's life experience is, but the specifics, the page 6 aspect, the gossipy, is not relevant to our experience as listeners and readers. That, you know, for we need to get our focus off of that and onto what does this say about us as a society? What does this say about me as a listener, specifically for each listener? You know, how is this? Where does this fit into the culture? How is? I mean, you get what I'm saying?
I do.
It shouldn't be about the gossipy aspect.
Yeah, and you know, you're right. At the time that we started talking about these songs, the songs that we first started talking about, you know, basically there was no internet in the early 90s, so you couldn't know as much. I mean, you could read People magazine and you could read gossip rags, that was always around, but it wasn't as much and it wasn't as intense. And you know, there wasn't Reddit forums and TikTok threads about who people have dated, etc., that celebrities have dated, or who people think celebrities have dated. So it's not that,
you know, people.
Sorry, go ahead.
Plus, people weren't out then, so even if you read the gossip rags, you know, you had people who were may have secretly been queer, having public straight relationships, and, you know, hiding behind that.
Yeah, true.
You know, that, you know, Ellen DeGeneres only publicly came out in the late 90s. And, you know, prior to that point, you know, if there had been any, I mean, you know, Rosie O'Donnell pretended to be, you know, really into Tom Cruise when he would, you know, appear on her show. I mean, get these this ridiculous, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you're right especially in the context of this episode, because it's about how we've been shaped by the Sapphic songs that are out there and the atmosphere that it's created and the acceptance or not acceptance of these songs and these feelings. And so in that context, I think, you're right, that Good Luck Babe is absolutely taken at that level. It hits you as a woman singing to another woman as sort of a kiss off because the other woman will not accept their relationship as being anything serious and is trying to suppress it. And not only that, but, she goes even farther because, the Good Luck Babe is probably half sarcastic. I don't know. That's how I read it. Like half sarcastic, half serious. And, because it's harder. Like the narrator is choosing the harder path. She's choosing the path of saying, well, it's harder in this context. She's choosing the path of saying, like, I would pursue this stigmatized relationship and you won't. And you want to do the thing that's safer for you. And that's an important thing to have on the radio. Yeah. We didn't have that.
Exactly.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to scream, but I just
No, I scream away. This is how impactful it is. This is the difference between when we were coming up and what the kids have today. And it should also be mentioned that no one should take any of this for granted, because there are still people who hate us. There are still people who want to take our rights away, who want to erase all of the progress we've made. So, you need to know what we old timers have to say and how things were in our days, because progress is not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
And the minute anyone gets complacent, that's when they'll take our rights away.
Yep. Yeah. And it's still, even though it might sound like both of us are, out and proud and whatnot, that doesn't mean that it's not, and we both live in places that are accepting, but that doesn't mean that it's still not a struggle. And that doesn't mean that it's still not something that you do fear that you'll be judged for, and that we don't still have internalized homophobia or internalized biphobia. I mean, it might sound like sometimes the way I'm talking about it, it might sound like I'm over it, but I don't know if any of us are.
Exactly. You never fully get over it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that to be a downer. I mean, it's certainly, my partner and I have been together for a long time, and we have an amazing life together, and I'm so grateful for it. But that doesn't mean that you don't still have to think about your appearances and your positionality, constantly.
Yeah.
So, and the internalized struggles too.
Especially if you travel, if you go into, areas that aren't as accepting, and you have to worry about how out you can be, whether you have to pose as just friends or.
Oh, we're never out when we travel. So, yeah. Particularly, I mean, maybe like if we're going to San Francisco or Los Angeles, but
no. But I'm talking about if you're going out, into some place in the mountains.
Well, and that's, these are all different topics of conversation, but that's something that we have that my partner and I have the privilege of not having to disclose, and it not necessarily being readily apparent, because of how we look and whatnot. But yeah, so having these songs, I'm thinking about, Good Luck Babe versus like, Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover. To go all the way back. There's a similar idea of like singing. It's not exactly the same, because the woman is singing in the first song, in Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover. I don't think the women are lovers. It's just the woman is fantasizing about it and how she could do better. And this woman, the other woman, presumably is in a heterosexual relationship. It doesn't actually say that, but especially for the time, that was implied. And then and that's just like so much more subtle though. And here you have like Chappell Roan loudly announcing everything that she feels about this woman and about what the woman is choosing to do. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And wonderful. And I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I actually first heard the Chappell Roan song because some people had done some video edits of League of Their Own, the series.
Nice.
Of course, everything leads back to League of Their Own with me these days. But yeah, people had done some edits of it applying to the relationship of Greta and Carson, and that's how I discovered the song. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
well, that's a catchy song. What's this? So that's what put it on my radar.
That's an apt way to use the song, I think. Except for, I'm gonna have to rewatch the series.
Well, Carson actually accepts herself, though. She ends up accepting herself.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I will rewatch it in time for our discussion of that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if I want to include what I'm about to say in this or not, but I'm just going to say it, and we can always come back or not. But I think that, I mean, from what I've seen, it seems like Chappell Roan is identifying as a lesbian now. Okay. And the fascinating thing about that, though, is that it's like, then is that Chappell Roan the caricature, or how much of that is the artist behind? I don't know. I'm not here to police that. I don't know, but I'm curious, again, as someone who's an elder millennial, I'm like, there's part of you that's scared for her. That's like, oh my God, you're going to alienate people. You're going to lose your audience. And apparently that's not happening, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I just didn't really think that you could be a successful lesbian celebrity that was out. And I mean, and I'm talking about someone who's like, I'm not even that old. It just wasn't a thing, you know? I mean, obviously we had the examples of, what did we have? Ellen DeGeneres, who came out and lost her show. And yes, she had a resurgence. She did, but she had to suffer for a while through those years of being like, you know, 86th.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how this goes in terms of the impact of saying that she's a lesbian, as opposed to identifying as something that labels might like more. I don't know. I mean music labels, and
right.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's got this openly lesbian song that is a major hit, you know, that is encouraging, because music labels, you know, the money talks. Yeah.
As it does in all industries, including...
Well, to a certain extent, but in television, the streaming services have been cowards and have ignored successful shows that have queer content, even though they've been successful. But that's another subject for another day.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to dig into that, because I actually, you're a lot more up to speed on that than I am, and I don't know much about what's making money and what's not making money in the TV industry. So I just assumed that the shows were getting canceled because they weren't making money, but apparently I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, these streaming services can be very secretive about their data.
Right. Yes.
And they renew shows that haven't even premiered yet, so it's impossible for the shows to have made any money, whereas they'll cancel some of their most watched shows because they can just be secretive with their data, and they pick and choose their focus groups. And I think that they're just being driven by old, conservative-minded executives who, maybe for political reasons, or maybe just out of cowardice, or it's impossible to know, because they're all so secretive.
I was in a focus group once in the mall.
Okay.
I was for the movie SWAT. And I'll tell you what, I was not the target demographic.
Yeah.
And I can't remember anything about it. It was boring to me. But on that note, I know we should think of a sign off, because I do have to go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I think we've talked about everything we could for this subject. So,
I know. It just keeps making me think of more things. I mean, that's what we do, right? But it makes me think of more things. I'm like, ooh, let's talk about that aspect. But no, gotta package it and organize it. I know.
Yeah. So looking at the grand arc of Sapphic songs from the 90s to now, Sapphic songs that charted, I think that we've seen some incredible progress, and I just hope that that progress can continue and that more artists write more open songs about this that normalize it and make it less of a stigma, so that the youngins coming up nowadays don't have to suffer like we did.
Yes, absolutely. And I am just
So
thrilled
thank you,
with the
Eilish.
music that's out there.
So I said, so thank you, Billie Eilish. Thank you, Chappell Roan.
Yes.
And here's hoping there'll be more in their wake.
Hear, hear.
Yes. So on that note, from the East Coast, I'm Fox Populi.
From the West Coast, I'm Shaquira.
And this is Sophisticated Culture.